Hello, you're here with your host, Veronica Starr. You're watching 2020. Today's edition is about 3 to 4 survivors who went out in the Outback off-roading in their Jeep. The vacationers had hoped to be out there for no more than a few hours, but ended up staying much longer than they planned after rolling their vehicle. Using the skills they had to survive the brutal conditions the Outback has in store. Let's take a moment to remember Caitlin Gibble as she died a couple days ago after the crash by a rattlesnake that bit her. Rest in peace. She will be dearly missed. Now give her a few seconds of silence. But we would also like to welcome Haley Meyer and Kelsey Polkinghart. Jordan Robinson was not able to be here with us today, but we will be streaming live with him.
Thank you. We're very happy to be here.
As am I.
What made you guys crash? That's something very tragic to discuss. Who was driving?
Well, Jordan hit a tree. He's kind of blind, so he didn't really see the tree.
Yeah, he's not a very good driver. I don't even know why we let him drive. Blame it on us, why don't you?
No kidding. So in other words, you're blind. Maybe I should have driven and we wouldn't have crashed. You just contradicted yourself. Good job.
I see there's a lot of tension in this group. You guys seem to argue a lot. Let's move on to the next topic. What was all going through your minds after the crash?
Well, my first thought was that we were all going to die. When we crashed, it was dark out, and it was weird because when we woke up, it was light out. I wanted my mom at that point. I was actually really scared.
I was scared that I was going to die. I was the only one awake at that point, so it was kind of scary because I wasn't sure if anybody else had died. So,
What did you do while they were passed out?
I was just sitting there looking out for them, making sure they didn't get eaten by a honey badger. And if they would get injured, I'd feel really bad because it would have been my fault.
What was the first thing you did when daylight came?
Well, the first thing we did was went out to buy plenty of food and water to last us a while. Then we went to go find camp and make a little bed to sleep for a while. And then we made a fire, and we were also tired and had headaches that we just went to bed.
I kind of sat there in confusion and watched them because I was dehydrated and didn't really feel like doing anything.
So what was it like being stranded out there in the Outback?
It was really scary because we weren't really sure about our surroundings, and we really didn't want to end up like Caitlin because, she got bit by a rattlesnake.
It was tough. With having to hunt for food and water, it made it hard. We also had to set up for camp. And that wasn't very easy because we had to hang things up and sleep with one eye open so we didn't get bit like Caitlin did.
What was it that helped you guys stay sane? I think it would be very hard to stay calm in that kind of situation you guys were in.
I sang the majority of the time just to keep my mind off of what was going to happen, or just to make sure that I wasn't going to go insane.
I sang with Haley and I kind of skipped a lot. I laughed a majority of the time, and I don't really know if you could say I was sane. I have the attention span of a 4-year-old, so that kind of explains things. I'm blonde, so I have an excuse.
Being blonde is not an excuse. There are blondes out there that can concentrate better than you can.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not true. I'm actually very sane. When I want to be anyways.
Okay then, I think we all know Kelsey's blind, but it is an excuse. We'll let her think what she wants. So how did you guys get rescued? Was that a really hard part in your rescue?
Yeah, it was very tough. We had to get a bunch of firewood so we could put it in a triangle because that's the sign of rescue. And we had to get that started, and then we had to sit there and not leave because we weren't sure if anybody was going to come there early to rescue us.
Well, that sounds very difficult. You guys are very strong for surviving that kind of situation. What did you hunt and look for on your journey?
found these bushes full of edible berries that we could like snack on, and we had to use our knowledge of what was poisonous and what wasn't, so that way I didn't like poison any of my group.
Okay, so then how did you guys find your water?
Well, I was kind of just like roaming around because I was bored, because there's really nothing to do out in the Outback, and I saw what I thought was a mirage, and I walked towards it, and it ended up being water, so I went and got stuff to bring the water back in, and we had a little bit of water, but we couldn't purify it.
She brought us all the water to drink, and yet it wasn't enough. So we went with things to put the water in, and we went back to the same place to get more water. Yet we still had to portion out all of it because to make sure we didn't drink it too fast.
Wow, you guys are really smart for knowing what you can and cannot eat. It looks to me like you guys actually paid attention in science class. So Kelsey, why didn't you help as much as you should have?
Well, actually I did help lots. I don't know really how to do much of this stuff, and I was just planning on to go to the Outback just to see some cool stuff. I was thinking Jordan wasn't going to make us crash, and that we were only going to be out there for a couple hours, 2, 3, 4. I don't really know how to start fires without my daddy there, so I couldn't do that. Jordan was hunting food and searching for the water, and so that we could survive. I'm not really good with this whole stranded thing. I kind of just help with the little things. I'm kind of surprised I made it through this adventure.
Well, maybe if you would have asked questions, you would have known how to do more stuff. Anyways, what did you guys do to set up your camp?
It was a very long process, but we managed to stick with it.
Wow, after these last few questions, I really looked at you guys different. Okay, Kelsey, what were some ways you purified water that Haley found? Wow, after these last few questions, I really thought of you guys a lot differently. Okay, Kelsey, what were some ways you purified the water Haley found?
I actually had a knowledgeable moment when we were processing the idea of how we were going to purify the water. I was parched, and I wanted a drink, so I reached over and I grabbed the last drops of what were in our flask, and it dawned on me. We had to boil the water in the flask. That was my dumb moment of the day. We came back multiple times with the flask filled and put the water in the cover of the Jeep, and we'd slowly put them in different areas, and we'd separate the water out that was purified and the water that wasn't, and we'd boil it, and then we'd put it in the cover of the Jeep. And it took us a while, and in a couple days we would have to repeat the process because water does this thing where it disappears. It's called evaporation.
That was a very smart idea, Kelsey. What a wonderful contribution. If it weren't for you, you guys would have died.
So, you bet!
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out here and explaining your adventures of the Outback. That sounded very difficult to survive through. I'm glad you guys made it out okay. Is there any other words you guys would like to add?
Never go to the Outback with Jordan.
Thanks. That's all the time we have tonight, folks. Tune in next time to 2020. I'm Veronica Starr, your host. Good night.